What's up guys, today I'm going to be going over the new tractor cannon changes in update 2.0. It got a few nerfs and some buffs at the same time, so there's a lot going on with this new gun, and basically I'm going to break it down for you guys and show you guys when to be using this weapon and when not to be using this weapon now with the new changes and everything like that. So first we're going to be talking about a few of the buffs it got. It now works with all elemental type weapons, and it's only 33% for solar and arc and still 50% for void. So as you see here with the arc cannon, I hit that number, go ahead and shoot the tractor cannon, shoot him again, now went up by 33% as you saw right there. Now I'm going to do the same thing with a solar AR, hits 115, go ahead and shoot the tractor cannon, and now it hits 153, which once again is 33%. Now with void, with the EP SMG, as you see it's still the old 50% buff that it used to be, which I think is a very cool change and probably a really good one overall for the general gameplay of this weapon. Now moving on to some of the nerfs that this weapon got. So once again I'm going to show you guys the SMG numbers with no buff and then tractor cannon buff right there. Now you can also still place rift, that didn't change. As you see, the rift and tractor cannon still stack, but all the other debuffs in the game do not stack with tractor cannon. So number one, hammer strike, which is melting point, which is a 50% buff. As you see, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again. I'm going to go ahead and show you the SMG number with just tractor cannon. I'm going to go ahead and now melting point and apply tractor cannon again and shoot at him, and it still hits the exact same 50% number, but we can't really tell what's going on here because tractor cannon and melting point are both 50%, so we're going to have to go and use a different element to see which one is being removed from the enemy. So back to the arcane cannon, as you see here, melting point, and I shoot him, I hit 972, which is 50%. Now I'm going to do the same thing but tractor cannon now, so melting point, then tractor cannon, then shoot him, and I hit 864, which is only the 33% number, so obviously melting point did not work right there. But maybe, depending on which one you apply last is the one that works, so we're going to go ahead and tractor cannon first, now melting point, and I still hit the 33% number as you saw it there. So tractor cannon rips off melting point from a target, it overrides it 100%. Now, same thing with tether, which is another debuff. As you see, he's tethered and I tractor cannon and I hit the 33% number right there with my hand cannon. And now to show you what it would be if I didn't shoot tractor cannon where it's just tether, I hit 875, which is slightly higher because it's a 35% increase from tether compared to the 33% of tractor cannon. So once again, tractor cannon overrides tether also, so tractor cannon is like the king of debuffs. It overrides any other debuff in the game. But as you see here, it's not actually that big of a deal when you're using void weapons because you want that 50% of the tractor cannon compared to the 35% on tether. So when you're using tether, it's not really that big of a deal that it overrides if you're using a void weapon, but that still doesn't mean it's great overall. So I decided to test since it appears tractor cannon rips off tether from the enemy. So what happens if you have bloodbound tether on and you tether enemy, then tractor cannon it, which appears to rip off tether, then shoot at it with a weapon? Does it still share the damage? As you see, it doesn't appear so. Tractor cannon literally rips off tether from the enemy and it makes it not work in general. So as you see here, without tractor cannon them, all the enemies share damage and they all die like they're supposed to. And I tested this multiple times to make sure that that was what was going on, and it was. And you can test it yourself. Tractor cannon literally rips off tether and it doesn't even share damage from enemies. But overall, tractor cannon got a huge buff in terms of general gameplay. As you see with Akelo's shotgun, even though it's locked to solar, since it still has trench barrel, it's still the best damage per second shotgun and probably gun in the entire game. As you see, without any buffs, I hit that number. Then I'm going to go ahead and melee him for trench barrel, which is 50%, as you saw right there. Now I'm going to tractor cannon, which is 33% for solar, and then also trench barrel 50%, and hit that number. So they still stack. And the EP shotgun is still the best shotgun in the game currently, but if you compare it to a void shotgun that gets the 50% from tractor cannon but doesn't have trench barrel, as you see right here, I'll show you what the number is, and it's quite a bit less. So EP shotgun is still pretty good, and it's still probably the best option in the entire game right now. One of my favorite changes about the tractor cannon is the fact that it works with all elements, which means you can use like abilities, supers, and a lot of things that you couldn't before with this weapon. So just in general gameplay, you can tractor cannon someone, throw a solar grenade at it, as you see right here, and the solar grenade is now buffed. Same thing with supers, you know, like arc supers, solar supers, grenades, all these things that before didn't get affected by it is now affected, and I think that's really cool. And it's a huge buff in terms of the general gameplay use of Tractor Cannon. Generally, you want to stay away from using Tractor Cannon at the same time as someone melting points or tethers, because as we saw, it completely rips off other debuffs and overrides all of them. And since melting point is 50% to all damage, not just void, then also tether shares damage between all enemies tethered. Obviously, you want to take use of those two lanes, and you don't want Tractor Cannon getting rid of those two lanes. But everything outside of that, it got a huge buff. Since it does 33% to all elements and 50% to void, it got even better in the neutral general gameplay. And obviously the fact that you can run a shotgun and the Tractor Cannon yourself at the same time is extremely good. So for in solo play, something like Tractor Cannon and EP shotgun is an insane combo still. Then even in a fire team, one person running Tractor Cannon just throughout a strike to just Tractor Cannon everything. That way everyone's doing 33% or 50% more at all times just during the strike itself is crazy. So overall, the direction Bungie went with this weapon is making it more of like a neutral general gameplay buff, where it's good all around at all times, but it's not so much about stacking damage anymore. Well, more precisely, it doesn't stack damage anymore, which I'm okay with this direction they're going with it. The whole like 11, 12x buffs you could get with Tractor Cannon and like the strikes and whatnot, that was kind of overkill and not necessarily necessary for the most part. So I think a good trade-off is losing that, absurd stacking for, better general gameplay of the weapon. I think that's a really good trade-off, and I think over time, people, if they're on the fence about it now, they'll probably like it over time as they use it more. One of my favorite reasons to use this weapon in the past was just for its ad clear potential, which got even higher with this update, with, it working with other elements, and also being able to use the shotgun at the same time as it. So overall, I still think it's one of the best PvE guns in the entire game. Nothing changed there. It's just not over the top with getting, crazy buffs in certain scenarios, which kind of you didn't really need in the first place anyway. So overall, I think this change is a buff overall, but there is that, nerf to the stacking damage. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about all these changes. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
This is safe. The Cabal don't need to stick the landing. We do. not getting up from that. Follow? We're good.